The first step is to register yourself. So you can enter your name, contact number, and your email ID and set a password for yourself. Choose the 14-day trial to start off with and click on sign up. You can also sign up with Google. So once you sign up, you're going to receive an email. So let's go to your email and verify. Once you've done the verification, you are good to log in. So before we begin, creating invoices, the first part is to set up your account. So if you are a GST holder, you need to mention your GST number and click submit. If you are a non-GST holder, enter NA. Now, if you are a GST holder, you can mention your GST number and click submit. Now, this GST number and all the setup details are required so that these details will appear on your invoice and quotation when you create. So since I had input the GST number, it has automatically taken all the details with respect to the particular GST number. You can also go back if you don't have a GST number. Let's get started again. And you can just mention NA and click on submit. In this case, you will have to manually enter let's say my company details is, I'll just mention company name. You can enter your company name, your CIN and DIN number. If you have a GST number, please do enter the GST number. So let's say I enter the GST number here and hit tab. It will automatically fill all the details. The GST username is the username that you use to enter into the GST portal. Now, this is essential when we are doing automated GST filing. This GST username is useful to enter the details in the backend. Now, if you are a product-based business or a service-based business, you would have a standard HSN. I'm mentioning the HSN here. You can change the HSN as per your business requirement and click next. So you write your name, first name and last name, your email address, and if you have an accounts team separate or a support team separate, you can also mention here. So let me just say it's support@gmail.com, your contact number and your PAN number. Your PAN number is also for your EVC verification. Let me just enter the PAN number. Okay. And your business account details. If you're a non-GST business holder or still not applied for GST, you can use your savings account details here. If you do have a current account, please mention your current account. Let's say the number is, okay. If you're collecting payments through UPI ID, you can mention your UPI ID. If you're using PhonePe or Google Pay, you would also have a UPI ID there. So go ahead and enter that UPI ID. If you have QR code, you can also update the QR code here. Let's go ahead and upload the QR code. This is my QR code. Hit next. Now, if you have any kind of signature, you can also upload that. Let's say I have my scanned signature here. And if you have a company logo, you can also upload your logo. Okay. Now, default quotation instructions are those instructions that you would want to provide your client in case there is a validity on the quotation or if there is an additional insurance or shipment based upon your business type. Let's say I'm selling a product and I've given a quotation which is valid for 7 days, right? Okay. Now, in the default instructions, you can also mention if you have any return policy or if you have any refund policy or if you have any shipment dates or deadlines. Okay. And in case you want to, mark something for payment delays, you can say 5%. Now, these are very specific. These instructions are very specific from business to business. You can also set your currency here. So if you're transacting in USD or providing some kind of service to external clients, you can mention that, or we'll stick to INR for now and click submit. So once you've submitted your information, you'll get a notification that your profile is complete and you are good to go. Before working out on this platform or any accounting platform for the matter, the first thing that we need to do is add client. Okay, now if you are a service-based industry, you would need to add clients first. If you are a product-based business who manages a lot of inventory, you would go ahead and manage the inventory. So this is the dashboard. Let's have a quick look at what it does. It shows you your invoices. It shows you your purchases and expense and any quotations that you have made with the amount. What is the profit that you are making? And YourBooks also gives you the same in graphical manner so that you can check. Now, based on the invoices and expenses that you are generated, it auto calculates the GST that you are supposed to receive and pay, and all the other reports based on the accounts that you have created or the invoices that you have created. All these options below are filled based upon the invoices and quotations generated. Now let's see what are the options available. The first one is quotations, where you can create and view your quotations. Now these quotations can be either B2B, B2C, or overseas. We will look into deep. The next one is invoices. So you can create invoices and also view invoices. While we create invoice, we also have an automated option to create recurring invoices in case you charge a retainer or a monthly billing. You can create a recurring invoice which will come and fall in this recurring invoice section. You can also view all your e-way bills and e-invoicing. Now, these are very intelligently integrated in the invoice creation. So with one click, you can create your recurring invoices, e-way bills, and also e-invoices. We will look deep into that. The next is payments. So you can mark your payment whenever you receive a payment against a particular invoice, and it will show you all the payment history here so that you know which invoice or which customer has paid you the amount. Next is client and vendor. So in the client and vendor section, you can add a client, GST holder, non-GST holder, and as well as overseas client. So when you enter here in add client section, this adds into the database and you will be able to choose the registered client while creating your invoices and quotations. You can also see the list of all the clients and vendors here. So let's get started with adding a client. Now, if you have a GST holder as a client, you can mention their GST number. Just for demo purpose, we are going to pick up this particular GST number, and we have all the details here as per the government. All you have to do is enter the GST number and hit tab. It will autofill all the details. Now we can cross-verify. It says Farm Manufacturing Company A18 GT Karnal Road. Let's go check here. Now it says A18 GT Karnal Road Industrial Area. Basically, YourBooks is integrated with the GST platform, which collects the proper details. This is also called as GST validation. Now you can add them as client and vendor or client and vendor both. If I'm adding a particular person as a client, it will only be available when I'm creating invoices and quotations and not while creating purchase orders. So if I'm adding them as vendors, the list will be available when I am creating purchase orders. So here in this case, I'll add them as both as client and vendor. So here you can enter their contact number, their email ID. The CC email ID is when you need to send another copy of the invoice or quotation to an email. So preferably you can have, your email ID. You also have confirmation that a particular email has gone to them and have them in your inbox handy. So let's say your email at gmail.com. In case you can mention the contact person's name here if you want, if you know the person personally, or the company name is just fine. Now, in case of shipping, if the shipping and billing address is different, you can uncheck this box, scroll down, and enter the shipping address manually. If both the shipping and billing address are same, you can leave it. and enter, save. Now you can see this has come and sat in the view client and vendor list. Okay. There's another important feature that YourBooks allows you import and export from Tally. In case you're already using Tally, all you need to do is import and choose the Tally file path and it will get uploaded. Okay. Now, similarly, to add a non-GST client, you would just write NA. So let's say the client name is Hemant, this is client, and the mobile number, say customer@gmail.com. Here I will write, this is my email ID. Okay. And here is my address. Okay. And I'm going to click save. Now we have, both customers, that is one with GST, one without GST. Now let's go and create a service invoice. Now let's go and create an inventory if we are selling something. So I'm going to go to inventory. YourBooks allows you to provide multi-store inventory. I will go to store and I will add store, add the store name. Let's say this is my store, let's say Amazon. I'm selling something on Amazon and I could just call it store 1. If you have a warehouse manager or stock manager, you can enter their contact name and number and you can enter the actual address. For this demo purpose, let's create another warehouse. Let me call it. Now here I'm not filling any of those state information and you can still add the warehouse, right? So here you can also view all the products that are available in a particular store. Right now, since we don't have any product listed, it is going to show empty. Let's go back to the inventory. Now what we have done is created 2 products. Now based on your business category, you can add, what are kind of products you're selling. Let's say one of my categories is home decor. I'll let it be the parent category. And let's say I have another category called weddings. Now we are ready to add our inventory. So it is as good as the way you upload the products on e-commerce. So you go to the inventory, click on products, go to add. Now let's say I have a lavender scented candle. Okay, let's say pack of 100. So this is, I'm selling it in a pack. Okay. If you don't know the HSN code or SSC code, you can click here on see codes. Okay. So we have HSN code here, candles. I'm going to pick up a 6-digit code, enter the HSN code. If you have a SKU ID, you can mention, else you can leave it. If you have a variant, you can mention, else you can leave it. Next, let's say I am having stock in Amazon and these come into candles. Okay. And I have 1,000 pieces left. If you want to upload an image, you can also choose a file and upload an image. So for this purpose, demo purpose, let's say this is my product. It's a small glass bottle. Let's say it's a candle in a jar. And alert quantity basically gives you a notification when your stock goes down. Now let's say I have 1,000 pieces here and I want an alert when my stock goes below 100. You can mention how do you want to be notified. Let's say email, SMS, and WhatsApp as per your preference. And what is your cost price and selling price? Let's say I'm buying it or buying or making. So it can also be a production cost in terms of manufacturing. If you're buying and selling, you can mention it as cost price. Let's say I am purchasing it at 50 rupees exclusive of GST. There are no taxes. 50 rupees exclusive of GST. And at what price are you selling? And I'm selling that at 200. That is inclusive of GST. And what is the GST value? Let's say 18%. And if there is any MRP that you would like to set, you can mention all that. You please do mention the email ID where you want the alerts to come in case the stock drops. So you can say my email ID, okay, and your contact number, and hit save. Mention your email ID for alerts and your contact number. Choose an image if you have and click save. So for this demo purpose, I'm showing you both, one with the image and without the image. So once you have an image, you're going to see here the image of the product, which makes it very easier for the staff to recognize the items in case you're dealing with, say, bed sheets, clothing, jewelry, or other items, very smaller items. So now our inventory is set. Now let's quickly go and create a quotation. So for creating quotation, you're going to go in quotations, create quotation. Now it'll ask you whether you want to create quotation B2B for a B2B customer or a B2C customer. So let's first see what comes up when we create B2B. So if you choose a B2B customer, you have two options. You can manually select the company that you have already added, or you can click on add new company, where the entire client adding process will repeat. This is similar for B2C. If you have already added somebody, now we've already added one person who's a B2C customer, you can choose them. Else, you will have to manually enter the details. The same holds good for overseas customers. So you can add, the customer and also choose the currency if you want to bill them in a different currency. So for now, let's create a B2B. So you've chosen the company. On the right side, you will see the quotation number, which can be modified. Right now, it has its own format as per the system defined. What you can do is you can go here and let's say you want your brand name first two letter to prefix. I will hit save. Okay. Let's go to quotation, create quotation, and I'm going to select the company. Now, if you see, the quotation number has automatically changed to the prefix, and it is starting from 1. Once we finish the quotation, the entire detail will come. Now here, you can also make your pro forma invoice. If you check this box, it will be updated on the PDF. Now this also is asking, how do you want to collect the payment? Do you want to collect in cash? Then the bank detail will go away. If you are collecting through bank, you can select the bank. You can also add multiple bank accounts if you are operating with multiple bank accounts, and I'll show you how. So this format is more or less similar for your quotation as well as invoices. Now, to create a service invoice, you would just add your description here and add the cost. For creating a product invoice, you'd select the product quotation and then choose the product from the list. 10,000 and GST is 18%. Discount option is only for you to see. If the discount is not given, this field will not appear on your quotation or invoice. Now, if you want to add more items, you can click on add item and you can mention all the services that you provide. Now let's go and save and download this. Let's see how it looks. So here it's a very clean and crisp invoice that is created. So we have our logo, which we uploaded during the setup. We have our business details along with the contact number. We have our pro forma invoice, bill to, ship to, the pro forma invoice number, the date, the amount, and the GST value. Since we had uploaded the QR code and the signature, we have both of them displaying here on the quotation. So let's go back, and now that you have given quotation to your clients, you can also convert it to invoice. So let's see what are the options here. So you have the quotation number, you have quotation type, it's B2B. Then you can also download the quotation, which we just did, but if you still want another copy, you can download it from here. You can resend the quotation. So when you click resend, an automated email will go to the email ID registered under the client's name. You can now, let's say you have given the quotation and the quotation is approved by your client and they need an invoice. All you have to do is click quotation to invoice. Now, once you do quotation to invoice, all the details come here. And here are some very interesting features. If you want to convert it to a recurring invoice, you have to select recurring invoice and then choose the time period. Let's say you have a 6 months contract and you would like to bill it from 1st of every month. Let's say you want to bill it from August, and let's say 3 months. Okay, so you have one bill in August, September, October. So you want to send them an invoice on 1st of every month for the next 3 months. So what you're going to do is you're going to just save and download. Now these invoices will eventually go and drop into recurring invoices. So the recurring invoice is showing in green because the current period is active. Once that time period expires, then this will turn into red. Let's go back to our quotations and now create a product quotation. So this time I'm going to choose a B2C customer and I'm going to choose somebody I've registered with, and I'm going to change this and choose my product. So I will drop down, I will check the product quotation, choose the product, insert the quantity. Let's say there is 50 pieces of that, and I have, let's say 50 pieces of that as an order. Again, if there are any shipping charges, you can mention, or you can preview or save or download or save and send. When you click save and send email, an automatic email will directly go to the customer at the registered ID. Let's have a look at this particular quotation, which is product based. So your product name, so here we have your logo, your business details, pro forma invoice, and all the important details. You have the HSN ID separately for each items, and you have the unit cost as well as the amount which is mentioned. So this makes it very, very simple and easy to create quotations. Let's get into invoices. So another way of creating your invoices is directly. So click on invoices and create invoice. Choose a client. So I'm going to choose this client and repeat the process that we did while creating quotation. This time the difference is going to be that we are going to have e-commerce invoice, recurring invoices, and print on letterhead enabled. So under your starter plan and silver plan and gold plan, you would not have an option to create e-way bill or e-invoices. These two features are only available in our platinum plan. Now let's create a product invoice for a B2C customer. So you would go to invoices, create invoice, choose B2C and choose a customer, add the product that you would like, the quantity, any shipping that is applicable, and click on save and download. So this invoice also asks you an option whether this invoice is paid or not. If it's still not paid, you can mark no, else you can mark Yes. So let's say this invoice is not paid and this comes and sits here. So in this case also, the standard format remains the same and only GST number will be mentioned as NA. It says tax invoice. Now let's go back and look at the invoices that we have. Now these are the invoices that we have created. This is the product invoice that we have created, and we created one recurring invoice. Now let's create another invoice to show you how to mark payments. I'll go quickly create invoice, choose a customer and choose a product. And if you see the quantity is reducing here, I had earlier created an invoice for 6 pieces, and so it's become 94. So let me say I have an order for 500 pieces. The shipping is 1,000 rupees, it's packaging and forwarding charges of 200, and there is an insurance of 200 rupees. Okay, and just to save and download. All the details of your shipping charges, your packaging and forwarding, and your insurance is updated in your invoice. Let's go and see all the invoices that we have. We'll go to view invoices. So please note here we have a total, unpaid invoices, which is for 1 lakh and 6,000, and there is nothing paid. An interesting feature that YourBooks has is it shows you the status of the payment. So it says as unpaid. Now, to mark a payment, if once you have received the amount, you would click on payment. You would choose the pay name. Let's say this one was paid by Mr. Sam. Nature of payments is sales of goods. And it automatically fetches the invoice number. Now the invoice is for 1 lakh and 1,000. Let's say I have received part payment, that is the advance. Let's say I have received 50,000. If there is any TDS deduction, you can mention. If not, choose 0 by default. Choose the payment method. If you have a transaction number, you can mention. You can also choose the bank account if you have multiple bank accounts and hit on save. This will immediately take you to the payments page where it will show you that a payment of 50,000 was received. Let's go back and see all our invoices. So if I go to view invoices, it still says that my invoice is unpaid because 50% of payment is yet to be done. Whatever payments you make and the invoices you generate will also be available for you to view. Now let's go ahead and make the entire payment for this one. So when you go and make the payment next time, it will show you the balance amount to be collected. So now you have an idea of how much the client was supposed to give. Now, assuming that the client has paid the entire amount, and let's say this time by check, and there is a check number, I would hit save. It will come and sit in my payments. And now if we look at those invoices, it will show me that this particular invoice is paid. If you see here, it says 1 lakh 1,000 is total paid and 4,000 is unpaid. So if I scroll to a little bit of right, it will show me the status paid and unpaid. Now you can also check this by going to your invoices and selecting all the unpaid. You can add a filter and hit search. So it will show you only the unpaid invoice. Similarly, if you want to filter all the paid invoices, you can choose paid and hit search. If you want to choose invoices based on your company, you can choose the company and you can select all the invoices that you have created towards that company and it will show you the invoice. invoices and all the details. Here again, you can download the invoices and go ahead. Now, all the invoices that we've created and the payments would show up to us in the report section. We will look into that a little later. Now, coming to the purchase order. Let's have a look at the report section. So I'll go to my reports and look at the ledger. So here it shows that I have created an invoice. So that's your debit, basically all the invoices that you have created and the payment that you have received. So we posted a payment of 50,000 initially, and then for 51,533. So it is showing us all the details. Even in your ledger, you can apply a filter and have a ledger report of the company saying, let's say you want to, check whatever transactions you had of a particular company. You can choose the company and select all the statuses and hit search. So it will show you, okay, let's say July 1st to July 31st. Let's choose the date. Let's choose the company. And I'll say everything that I need about the company. So it is going to show me that I had created an invoice for this company, and then I received the payment, which you can also export by clicking at this option. You have multiple options here, so you can choose the file. So let's say I want it in a CSV file. Now, your profit loss statement is something that a tax consultant would make for you. Now, what we have done is we have made it very simple and automated for you to tell you what is the profit that you're making, what is the loss that you're making, and if you are entering all your invoices, purchases, stock, and expenses properly, it will give you a profit loss statement which is completely downloadable. Next, coming back to our payments, you can also directly mark a payment by going to payments. So we'll click on payments, mark payment. Let's say this is paid by Mr. Sam, and this is sales of goods. Now here you have an option for choosing the invoice. So let's say I'm choosing this invoice. It is showing me that there is a pending amount of 4,873. I will choose 0. I have received this payment. Let's say I've received it by cash, and I will hit save because this is a non-GST customer. So it will go since it's in payment. And if you go and see your invoices now, it will show you that these are the total paid invoices. You have unpaid invoices. You are doing excellent business. Great. Let's now go to purchase order. So you create a purchase order when you are purchasing an item from somebody. So here you would preferably choose a vendor. Now, if you remember, while adding the client, we had added both as client and vendor. So here it is showing a list of saved vendors. Let's say I am buying from this company. Okay, if you have a quotation number, let's say this is my quotation number 01. What is the currency and what are you buying from this company? Okay, so the product has to be in your inventory. So let me add this here. Let's say I'm buying 100 pieces and hit save and download. Now here we have made a purchase order for 100 pieces. You can go ahead and download and send it to your vendor that you're making a purchase. So it says purchase order to a particular vendor. Okay. And then, you can send this information to your vendor who can fulfill your requirement. We also have an option to copy. So you can just click on copy and this will create a new purchase order. You can just change the details. Let's say you want to give a purchase order to 2 different people. You can do the same. Now here you can also go and view all your purchase orders on the left panel and either edit, download, copy, or delete. Let's look into how to file expenses. Expenses are basically all your business expenses and payments that are going out. So in case you have an invoice number that you have received from a vendor, you would ideally input the invoice number against which you are making a payment. Now, let's say I am making a payment to this particular company and the invoice number is 214. And you can mark the nature of expense. Let's say this is for purchase of goods. I'm going to mark that and enter the complete invoice amount and the GST number, GST value. Let's say we have around 500 rupees on that. And if you have already paid for this particular invoice, mark it as paid, mark the expense date. When did you make the payment? Let's say I made the payment on 25th. What is the mode of payment? Did you pay from your bank or did you pay in cash? And then you can also upload the receipt if you have received from your client or customer and hit save. Now it shows that this is marked as paid. In case you're paying salaries or any other kind of expenses, you can do the same here. And if you don't have an invoice number, mention NA, then choose the person. Let's say I'm making a salary payment to Hemant. Let's say I mark it as paid. And let's say first of this particular month, I made a payment. This is salary. Okay. So let's say this is like 30,000. There's no GST. And let's say while paying salaries, I have a 2% TDS deduction. I'm deducting 2% in paying. So it will auto calculate. So basically for 30,600 is what TDS will be deducted. You can upload the pay slip if you have, or you can just hit save. Now, all these expenses also showcase in your accounts. So here you made a payment of 30,000 and you made a payment for an invoice for 20,500, and it also adjusts your accounts in your profit loss statement. That was pretty easy to get your profit loss statement. Let's look into the GST tab. So we have several options available. One is for ITC, that is your input tax credit. If you have paid any GST invoice, you would be receiving some kind of a tax. And if you have done a sale with a GST invoice, you should be paying taxes. So here it shows the ITC available to claim and also your dynamic ITC. Then we have GSTR1, which is list of all your sales for the current month, and you can also choose. By default, it is set from starting of the month to the ending of the month. And this is where you will file your GST. So the first tab shows all the invoices in total. That is what we had created. The second tab, in case you have any debit or a credit note created, it will show here. And the third tab is an HSN and SAC summary. So here we have two invoices, and these two invoices have these 4 line items with different HSN code. So that is what it is showing here. Now to file your GST, we have another video on how to file GST. You can find the link above and go and check that video. Since this is a demo account, I would not be able to show you because it is integrated real time with the GST portal. So just for your understanding, let's say that if your GST is properly linked and registered, you need to click save. In that case, all these invoices and values goes and saves into the GST portal. This file GSTR1 option will get enabled. Then when you click on file GSTR1, it will ask you for the GST OTP, which you will receive by SMS. Once you enter the OTP, your GST will be filed on the GST portal. Now, if you are a non-GST business, you can completely skip this tab and continue with the other accounting features. This is only for tax purpose. Similarly, GSTR 3B gives you the list of all your sales and all your purchases. Now you can see we created 2 sales invoice. We have the list of invoice and the GST value. Similarly, we have mentioned 2 purchases. Now, if you see, the first one does not have any GST value because it was a non-GST holder. The second one does have a GST value, which we had marked in our expense. If in case of debit credit note, it will be shown here. So it will also summarize what is your GST input and output and calculate how much is the GST to be calculated. The process is similar for filing the GST 3B. Please watch relevant video on how to file GST 3B. GSTR 9, now it shows you your tax data. Now, since we don't have anything here, this is for the previous year. Since we don't have anything here, it doesn't have any data to show. In case of any credit or debit note received or sent, it will be shown here. You can also create a credit and debit note. So let's click credit note. Let's say if I'm giving a credit note, to which invoice am I giving the credit note and what is the value of it? Let's say if I save this credit note, it will come and drop in my credit and debit note. The GST settings is nothing but adding your turnover, your previous year turnover, invoices raised outside your books for your financial year in case you have raised invoices, and your PAN number, which is mandatory for your EVC filing, that is electronic verification code for filing your GST. Let's look into the settings. So now the first one is edit profile. In edit profile, you can choose your name and mobile number and email ID and update that. Company details are those details that you want to show on the invoice, the company name, the GST number, and all the other values. So you have company details and address. Then you have your essential details, that is the contact person detail and the bank number. And you have your additional information, that is your company signature, logo. If you are creating e-commerce invoices, then you can also mention your e-commerce GST number and hit submit. In case you are using multiple bank accounts, under settings, we have this option for bank account. So you can add multiple bank account. Let's say this is this number, and I would say ICICI Bank. Let's enter the IFSC. Let's say this is your personal account number and you want to add. This is your name, and let's say this is your account number. This is your branch and create branch. Now you can select the default bank in which you want your invoices to be updated. Now in this case, HDFC is set as default. If I choose ICICI as default, I can click on set as default. Now ICICI is set as default, you can see here. Now when I create an invoice or a quotation, I will be able to choose the relevant bank. So now you see by default ICICI Bank is selected. Now I can drop down and choose a relevant bank. In case you are doing both product and service business, there are requirements. In case you want to take a particular amount to a particular bank, you can always choose that. And that's how your multiple bank accounts is useful. Let's go back to the settings. So here we have bank accounts. We have user preference. User preference is your invoice prefix and suffix. This is where you will set all your username and password. If you have a e-invoice username and password, please enter here. So you can go to settings, e-invoice, and enter the details. Similarly, if you are generating e-way bills, ideally e-way bills is required if you are selling goods that require shipment above 50,000 rupees. So if you enter your e-way bill username and password in this column, every time you create an invoice and need a e-way bill, this will facilitate the e-way bill generation. Next, coming to the Teams section. In your settings, we have an option for Teams. In case of multiple users, you can add more users. So let's say this is accountant, a particular email number, their email, and their password. Whatever password you want, you can set. And then you can choose a role, whether you want to make them a sub-user or a manager, and then activate it and hit on save. Okay. So let's put in the accountant details and hit enter. So now your user is created. The user would also have got a email which they need to verify and then continue. You also have an option to change your password. Go to settings, change password, enter your old password and new password. Now, every business has some kind of fixed expenses or recurring costs. So we would suggest that you enter here so that it becomes easier for you to analyze your business. This is only from reporting purpose. If you do not need all this, you can omit and leave it. In case you want a more elaborative expense chart and reports, you can mention your recurring expenses here. So what is your target expense? In case you have a target expense, you can mention here. Resource cost is basically the total of your salaries. If you are paying salaries to 10 employees, you can add them up and enter here, which is a fixed cost. Then you have your rent of the premises, any miscellaneous expenses, any direct or indirect indirect expense or indirect incomes that you are receiving on a fixed target. Then we have targets, that is from your business understanding and your requirement. Is there budget that you want to set for your expense, and how much you want to receive payments? Let's say my target expense is for 5 lakhs, and payment targets is I want to achieve, let's say, 10 lakhs. So to achieve payments of 10 lakhs, maybe I need to create invoices of 15 lakhs. So when I update this, this goes and adds to your dashboard. So this is a very lovely feature that helps you to kind of keep yourself motivated. Now, this is the goal that we have kept. So if I say that I want to, create invoice for 15 lakhs, it shows that I am, done very little because I've created an invoice for 1 lakh and 6,000. And I have an express budget of 50,000. That means I do have some amount to spend. So this is a very interesting feature, which also gives the CMO or a decision maker of the business to make informed decisions when making expenses or pushing their sales team to do more. Coming back to the settings, we do have liabilities and assets. So here you can mention all the liabilities and all the assets that you have, that is the amount that you have, and update, which will be considered in your accounting. Then you have your find HSN here. You also have an option to find the GST status. So let's say here is the GST number and I hit search. This finds the GST number and tells you whether this particular GST number is active or paying their GST properly or not. Let me fetch this one. Now it shows, yes, this is a regular and this is the range, registration date, address, and what is the nature of business. So this is an extended GST verification and validation tool. If you have any questions and queries, you can come to help and drop us the detail here. You can also write to us at support@yourbooks.in. Also reach us out on our Facebook group, YourBooks VIP, and we will help you with all the requirements and support immediately.